Hi, everybody. Welcome back to English 229. This is for our class for Monday, the 30th of November. I hope you all had a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And where we left off is we were watching The Haunting by Robert Weiss. And I left you with the attendance question about why you thought there might have been differences with the title as opposed to the title of the text itself, The Haunting of Hill House. And I tend to agree with what many of you indicated, that the haunting is much more than just the haunting of the house itself, but the characters, and particularly Ellie. And this is a very interesting case study into our main character, Ellie, that I wanted to talk a little bit about. And I also wanted to remind you that I was having some email problems. I believe they've all been fixed by this point, so I can now access my past emails. And that means I'm going to go back to those emails and look at assignments and start returning those. But if it turns out that you submitted an assignment to me and I have not responded, you just might want to double check and make sure that I actually have that assignment. But I'll be doing that over the next week or so. So hopefully I can get all caught up. And in terms of the text itself, Hill House, it's based on a house called the Winchester House in California. And on page 105, if you're using the text that I had assigned for class, it talks a little bit about the Winchester House. And in the notes below, I've included the website for the Winchester House, as well as a documentary that I would like you to watch. It's approximately 20 minutes or so, and it talks a little bit about the Winchester Mystery House and the folklore associated with it. And basically, it was a home that was built based on the advice of psychics. Sarah Winchester, the heiress of the Winchester fortune from the Winchester rifle, consulted psychics, was told that basically she was going to be responsible for all of the souls that had died with the Winchester rifle if she didn't continue to add on to her home. And that's exactly what she did until the point of her death. Of course, it's a nonsensical thing, and the skeptical and somewhat suspicious part of me has wondered if that psychic was somehow connected with a construction company that would profit from the fact that Sarah Winchester would just continue to make additions to her home nonstop. Many of them ridiculous additions, as you will see in the documentary. So I think it's worth your time. Again, it's approximately 20 minutes or so. It'll give you a little bit of a sense of what Shirley Jackson was thinking of when she constructed the film, or when she constructed the text, The Haunting of Hill House. And we know that the film takes some liberties with the text, but for the most part, the film is fairly close to the text. And that'll be today's attendance question, is asking you about the film, which I hope you were able to finish last week. Did you like or dislike the 1963 film The Haunting? Again, understanding that there are some differences, and why. And I wanted to talk a little bit about definitions and hauntings. And haunt, the root comes from home. So hauntings are usually associated with a locale, more often than not a residence. And hauntings are inexplicable sensory phenomenon. And mostly those include noises. Very rarely does it involve a physical apparition. And smells are also involved, tactile sensations, oftentimes cold, and poltergeist activities. And I'll talk about poltergeist in a moment. And some of the theories as to why hauntings might occur, that this could be possible energy residue left by the living after they die. In other words, the house kind of retains a memory. Stephen King has talked about this as a kind of psychic battery, which is what he was thinking of when he constructed The Shining, which was a haunted hotel. Other theories are that it's a possible portal to a spirit dimension that allows spirits to enter into the physical world. Another theory is that this is poltergeist activity, and poltergeist comes from the German poltern, which means to knock, and geist, which means spirit. And this is supposed to be some sort of mischievous or malevolent spirit, or mischievous or malevolent energy that oftentimes involves things like rock throwing, odors, raps, physical and sexual assaults, shrieking, spontaneous movement of objects. And more often than not, it's associated with an adolescent female, a female under the age of 20. And there have been lots of theories as to why that might be, whether it's some sort of unconscious thought or repressed emotion of hostility or anger, which is the most common theory. In the 1930s, the theory was that it involved sexual repression and puberty. The physical disturbances involved would be flying, levitating, banging doors, rapping, thumping, assaults on humans. And one theory also about all of that is that it's caused by psychokinesis, in other words, the mind of the disturbed adolescents, if that happens to be the focus of the poltergeist activity. Keep this in mind, not just for the haunting, but also for our last major text of the semester, The Exorcist, since there will be parallels between the two. Now, the text, The Haunting of Hill House, begins with a description of Hill House, but basically it's a character study of repressed Eleanor, also known as Ellie. And some of the reasons why Eleanor is so challenged psychologically. She's been her mother's caretaker for years. She's overcome with guilt over her mother's death. She lives with her sister's family. She's had a very sheltered life. She's very dependent. Interestingly, she lies about her age. Ellie is 32 years old, but instead of reducing the number, she increases the number to 34 years of age. And that's something that we'll be talking about later as well. She's very awkward and sheltered and definitely prone to fantasy. And the reason why she's been asked to Hill House is because when she was 12, after her father died, stones fell on her house. She is in direct contrast to Theodora or Theo, who's basically everything Ellie is not. Theodora is independent, she's competent, she's graceful, she lives with a friend, quote unquote. And if you haven't finished the novel yet, I'm well aware that you might have been celebrating Thanksgiving. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to end slowly before the Thanksgiving break and also begin slowly after the Thanksgiving break, just to give you some time to catch up if you needed to. She lives with a friend, and as we begin to examine that over the text, there are questions as to whether or not she could be queer. She also is invited to Hill House because she exhibits unusual qualities. She telepathically identifies cards in a lab experiment. And if you wanted to know what telepathy is, it's the vicarious transmission of information without using sensory channels. So what I wanted to do next class was to finish talking about The Haunting of Hill House. And hopefully by 11:59 p.m., since I know there's been a little bit of confusion as to what midnight might mean, but 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, December 2nd, it would be lovely if you could have journal number 62, The Haunting of Hill House. But of course, if you need additional time, just ask me, because I'll put closure onto Hill House on that Wednesday at 8 a.m. And then we can spend the rest of the semester finishing up with The Exorcist and just a few short words about Stephen King. And again, as I indicated, our attendance question for Tuesday, December 1st, hard to believe, but we will be moving into December at 8 a.m. Did you like or dislike the 1963 film The Haunting, and why? Don't forget to watch the documentary, The Winchester Mystery House, Secrets of the Mansion, because I think it'll help you get a good understanding of what Shirley Jackson was motivated by in relation to her construction of Hill House. So I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. And next class we will continue with The Haunting of Hill House. Bye-bye.